Tonight's story is not for the faint-hearted. Use headphones before entering the world of fear. I'm Michael, and you are watching Bangla Ghost Video. Today's terrifying story was sent by our regular audience, James. Let's begin.
I'm a 22-year-old girl, and about a month ago, I was searching on Craigslist for a couch for my new apartment. Moving into a new place had already drained most of my savings, so I was hoping to find something affordable. After scrolling through dozens of listings, I finally found one that looked perfect. The pictures showed a clean, modern couch that seemed to be in excellent condition. Even better, the price was surprisingly low. It almost seemed too good to be true. The seller asked to be contacted by email. His email address was mexicanpoppy666@hotmail.com. I'll be honest, the email address made me a little uncomfortable. It felt strange and slightly unsettling. But since the deal looked so good, I decided to ignore that feeling and sent him an offer anyway. To my surprise, he responded within 5 minutes. He accepted my offer right away and then immediately asked for my home address so he could deliver the couch. That request made me uneasy. I didn't really like the idea of a stranger from Craigslist coming to my apartment. So instead, I suggested that I could simply drive to his place and pick up the couch myself. But he kept insisting that he should come to my house over and over again. The more he pushed, the more uncomfortable I felt. Eventually, I just stopped replying to his emails. Then the next day, he emailed me again. This time, he sent me his address. At that point, I wasn't sure what to do. Something about the whole situation felt strange. But at the same time, the couch still seemed like an amazing deal. And according to the address he sent, he didn't live very far away. So after thinking about it for a while, I decided to take the risk. I got into my van and drove to the address he had given me. When I arrived, the first thing I noticed was that the house looked smaller than the other houses on the block. It wasn't completely abandoned or anything like that, but it definitely looked older and less maintained than the surrounding homes. Still, I walked up to the front door and rang the doorbell. After a few seconds, the door opened. A middle-aged man wearing a baseball cap stood there smiling widely at me. Something about that smile immediately made me uneasy. But before I could say much, he stepped aside and invited me inside. I hesitated for a moment, but eventually I stepped inside. He led me down a short hallway and into the living room. The couch from the advertisement was sitting right in the center of the room. But the moment I saw it up close, I realized something was wrong. The couch looked nothing like it did in the pictures. There were visible scuff marks along the arms, several small tears in the fabric, and the cushions looked worn out. It definitely wasn't in the great condition that the ad had promised. I pointed this out to him. Instead of explaining, he simply smiled again and said he could lower the price if I wanted. That made me even more uncomfortable. At that point, I told him I wasn't interested anymore and that I was going to leave. That's when things suddenly got creepy. As I turned to walk toward the door, he stepped closer and placed his hand on my shoulder. Then he leaned in slightly and said he would give me the couch for free if I was willing to give him something in return. For a moment, I was too shocked to respond. Then I let out a disgusted no, quickly pushed his hand off my shoulder, and rushed out of the house. I didn't even look back. I jumped into my van, started the engine, and drove away as fast as I could. I tried to convince myself that the whole situation was over, but it wasn't. Later that night, I was lying in bed watching TV when I thought I heard someone walking up the steps to my porch. At first, I wasn't sure if I had imagined it, so I muted the TV and listened carefully. That's when I clearly heard someone trying to turn my front doorknob. My heart immediately started racing. I jumped out of bed and slowly walked toward the door to look through the peephole. But by the time I got there, whoever it was had already disappeared. Then, a few seconds later, I heard something even worse, the sound of the backyard gate opening and closing. That's when I grabbed my phone and dialed 911.
While I was on the phone with the operator, I suddenly heard someone trying to open the back door of my apartment. I yelled as loudly as I could that the police were on their way. A few seconds later, I heard the gate open and close again. Whoever it was gone. That happened about a month ago. Nothing like that has happened since, but even now, I still have trouble sleeping at night because I'm almost certain that it was the same man who tried to sell me the couch. I'm convinced he must have followed me home that day. There's no way it was just a coincidence. And because of that, I don't plan on using Craigslist ever again. I'm also seriously considering moving to a new apartment.
Before we dive into the most terrifying part of this story, I want to ask you something. Where in the world are you listening from right now? Make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if your heart starts racing while listening to this story, tell me that in the comments too. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow, because the story you're about to hear might just steal your sleep tonight.
I was searching for a car to buy for my son's 18th birthday. Like most parents, I wanted to get him something reliable but affordable. So I started checking the usual car websites like Cars.com and eBay Motors. But everything I found was overpriced, just like I expected. Eventually, I decided to check Craigslist. About a week into my search, I found a listing that immediately caught my attention. It was a 2003 Toyota Camry with only 67,000 miles on it. According to the ad, the car had no accidents, no damage, and was in great condition. The price was $3,500. For a car that reliable with such low mileage, it seemed like an incredible deal. Honestly, it almost seemed too good to be true. Still, the listing looked legitimate, and the seller lived only about 10 miles away, which was a reasonable distance when looking for a used car. So I called the number listed in the ad to set up a time to come see it. The man who answered sounded completely normal on the phone. He confidently assured me that the car had no mechanical problems and that everything worked perfectly. He introduced himself as Bob. We agreed on a time for me to come look at the car. Even though I planned to negotiate the price down a little if possible, I still brought $3,500 in cash with me, just in case the car turned out to be exactly as advertised. When the day came, I drove to the address he had given me. I arrived about 15 minutes early. The house was small and located on a quiet dirt road. The property itself was fairly large, but that was mostly because the house was a bit far from the nearest neighbors. One thing I noticed right away was that the garage door was open. I figured Bob might be inside working on the car. So I walked over to the garage and looked inside. But instead of seeing a car, I noticed something strange. The garage was filled with an unusual amount of car parts scattered everywhere. Engines, tires, and pieces of metal. But there was no Toyota Camry anywhere in sight. In fact, the only vehicle on the entire property was an old pickup truck parked off to the side. Confused, I walked over to the front door to double-check the house number. It was the correct address. The doorbell button was missing, so I knocked on the door instead. I waited and waited. I knocked several more times. After about 5 minutes, I decided to call Bob. As soon as I dialed his number, something strange happened. I heard the sound of a cell phone ringing inside the house. Hearing the phone ring inside the house made me even more confused. I knew I had the right address, and I was sure someone was home, but no one was answering the door. Curious and a little nervous, I decided to peek through one of the windows to see if anyone was inside. It was pretty dark, so I couldn't see much at first. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Across the room, standing by the back door, was a figure staring outside. At first, I thought it was Bob. I knocked on the window, hoping to get his attention. Nothing. The figure didn't move at all. Panic started to set in. Since the yard was wide open and there were no fences or gates,
I cautiously walked around to the back of the house. As I got closer, my heart sank. The figure I had seen through the window was not a living person. It was a taxidermied human being, mounted and positioned to stand at the back door. I froze for a moment, unable to process what I was seeing. Then, instinctively, I ran straight back the way I came, all the way to my car. I glanced up one last time before getting inside. 2 of the blinds on the window I had peeked through were bent open. Someone or something was watching me. I didn't wait another second. I slammed the car door, started the engine, and floored it down the road. The whole way home, my mind raced. All of it. Car parts scattered in the garage, the fact that there was no Toyota Camry, and the taxidermied human figure left me shaken to my core. I realized that whoever that man was, he wasn't planning on selling me a car at all. And the scariest thought of all, I had come dangerously close to becoming one of those lifeless figures staring out from that man's back door. From that day on, I never went near Craigslist for car deals again.
About a year ago, I was looking to buy an iPhone 5. I found a listing on Craigslist where a guy was selling his phone for $200. He claimed it was in mint condition and that he was upgrading to an iPhone 5C. Since I didn't know much about testing phones, I brought my little brother along. He knew a lot more about electronics than I did, so I felt safer having him with me. We agreed to meet the seller halfway at a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot around 10 p.m. When we arrived, 2 large, intimidating guys stepped out of a black Honda Civic and approached us. One of the guys pulled out the iPhone and showed it to me. The phone looked perfect, no scratches, no dents. My brother inserted my SIM card into the phone, ran some tests, and confirmed that it worked. Then the seller did something odd. Even though he had originally asked for $200, he told me he wanted $250. I lied and said I only had $200. He looked a little annoyed, but didn't argue further. I handed him the $200. The 2 men got back into their car and waited. I tested the phone by calling my girlfriend. Everything seemed fine. But there was one detail that made me uneasy. The 2 guys hadn't left yet. I shrugged it off and started my car, thinking it was probably nothing. We drove away, but soon I noticed something strange. The black Honda Civic was following us. No matter which turn we took, it stayed close behind us. My brother suggested pulling over, but I knew that stopping could be dangerous. They weren't just random cars on the road, they were following us on purpose.
The black Honda Civic stayed close behind us as we drove. My heart was pounding, and I knew these guys were looking for trouble. I tried to lose them by taking a few risky maneuvers, cutting through side streets, changing lanes abruptly, even flooring it at intersections. My brother was shouting at me, calling me crazy, but it was the only way I could think of to escape. Finally, at a red light, I floored it just as the light turned green, and miraculously, the car didn't follow. I glanced in the rearview mirror and breathed a sigh of relief. We finally made it home safely. My heart was still racing from the chase, but at least we were out of immediate danger. Later that night, I was in my room setting up the new phone while my parents and brother were asleep. Then I heard the sound of 2 car doors slamming outside. I froze. Looking out the window, I saw the black Honda Civic parked across the street. My stomach sank. I immediately woke my dad and explained everything as quickly as possible. He grabbed a baseball bat and crouched behind the front door. A loud knock came at the door. One of the men on the other side claimed to have a gun and threatened to shoot the lock off if we didn't open it. I called our neighbor Joe, who happened to be a police officer. He said he would come right over and instructed us to stay hidden. Then I heard something that still haunts me. A silenced gunshot. The bullet hit the door just inches from my dad's head. Joe arrived moments later, shouting at the men to drop their weapons. My dad ran outside to help. Eventually, the 2 men lowered their guns and were arrested by Joe. That day was, without a doubt, the scariest day of my life. But it was also the day I realized how lucky I was. and how careful one must be when meeting strangers online.